like to welcome everyone to our February 5th Select Board meeting. The first thing on our agenda is our local concerns meeting, and it's regarding a scoping study for the sidewalk to the high school. I believe it was early last year that the town was granted a grant to do the scoping study, and we have a couple of folks from Dufresne Engineering Group to help us through that with the process and give us a PowerPoint. And this is a chance for the public and the Select Board to have any questions or input regarding the sidewalk project. And I believe it's Matt Bissell that's here in person, and Christina Hawkins that is joining us. Chrissy Hawkins. Haskins.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is on Zoom.
Oh, okay, thank you. She'll be with us on Zoom. So Matt, if you would like to take us through a presentation on this sidewalk project.
Come right on up so you have the mic.
Sure, sit here.
Yep.
Yes, and then you can look at either screen.
Yep. So I'm Matt Bissell with Dufresne Group. Chrissy Haskins has joined remotely. She's a colleague on this project, project manager. So, like you stated, this is VTrans Bike and Pedestrian Grant. The first step in the process is a scoping study. And so if you can go to the next slide. The project study area encompasses 103 from Route 11 to the Green Mountain Union High School driveway. So we'll be evaluating pedestrian facilities in this area. Another section we'll be looking at is the existing sewer right-of-way along the South Branch Williams River near the Mountain View area. I think students use that now as a walking path, so that's something we'll be looking at too. Go to the next slide. The project purpose is to increase pedestrian safety. As currently there is no existing facilities along this path. Students either walk in the road shoulder or in the grass area or along the sewer path that was discussed earlier. And to improve connectivity from the residential neighborhoods to the school. Again, safety is a concern. There's no pedestrian facilities or crossings currently. So, next slide. During the alternatives evaluation, we'll be looking at environmental constraints. This slide here is just from the Vermont A&R Atlas with some of the environmental constraints on the screen. The project area is within a map floodplain and river corridor, so any alternatives will need to keep that in mind and be considered. Next slide, please. So what to expect during the scoping study process. This first meeting is brief, just looking at the project area and what we're doing. So local concerns, comments, questions are what's important here. We'll take these concerns and comments and questions and we'll use them along with our field investigations to develop alternatives. And in a couple of months we'll present another meeting, the alternatives presentation, where we'll have multiple alternatives to discuss and evaluate. From there, likely we'll have a survey that goes along with it to help choose a preferred alternative. When the preferred alternative is selected, we'll develop that concept further with cost and schedule. These VTrans projects have a pretty extensive timeline, typically spanning multiple years from scoping study to final design to construction. So at this point, with the local concerns and scoping phase of this project, public input is key in making sure the town receives what meets their project goals and needs. So next slide. That's it for the presentation. Any comments, questions, or concerns, and will be noted and definitely considered during alternatives.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might be a short meeting.
I have a basic question, vocabulary-wise. Yeah. You're saying the word alternative? Alternative to what?
Yeah, alternatives as in, you know,
Options.
So
options.
options is the, so you're talking about options? It's not
Yes.
alternative to something?
No, the V-Trans language talks about options as alternatives.
Okay,
That's how,
great.
that's the V-Trans language.
Basically,
Thank you.
feasibility study to
Right.
determine which
Yeah,
alternative.
that's fine.
And one of the alternative is doing nothing.
Yes, no work alternative, it's evaluated.
But the words. Okay, great.
V-Trans, federal V-Trans, federal
Okay,
language,
it's all
and the
good.
V-Trans transportation.
It's all good. So, so the question at the moment is, what are the alternatives for a sidewalk going to the high school? That's the scoping study?
Yes.
What are
Yep.
the different ways we could do it?
Yep, starting at the bridge
Yeah.
near Route 11 to the high school. You know, whether it's along Route 103 the whole way, or we consider using that path, which side of the road, what kind of pedestrian facility, you know, those are all alternatives that are considered and evaluated.
Matt, when you talk about the path, which path are you talking about? The right-of-way that cuts across the creek there? But
So
you're
it's
already
the-
on the other side.
I don't know if it crosses the creek, it's the sewer right-of-way on the Mountain View side of
Okay.
South
Yeah.
Williams River.
Yeah.
It's kind of a clear path now that I think students use to get to school.
Yeah.
But in the town currently has a right-of-way through that spot, so.
I always think I did a project at Brandeis, and the first thing they did was, we're not gonna install the sidewalks until after the students get in the building. And then you fill the dirt paths in with sidewalks.
Once
So
the kids
that's where they're
create the
going.
dirt path.
That's where they're going, that's what I
Yeah.
mean, so,
Yeah.
and the common sense approach to that, if they're, I mean, they used to walk through Parkers all the time, and we all heard about that. I might have done it once or twice myself, so if there is an alternative path that people aren't doing, absolutely.
This sidewalk project doesn't entail any work with the railroad or any other entity that could present some
Correct.
problems.
Yeah, not like the Depot Street sidewalk.
That's pretty scary when you read that this one, the construction won't start for a few years and stuff. We're talking quite a ways down the line, because we still have to get funding for it all and
Correct.
everything else that comes along. This is just for the scoping, just
Yes.
to have it in our resources, so that if something ever comes up, say, yeah, we already looked at it, we have a path, we already kind of know what we want, and here's our scoping studies to facilitate getting a grant
Yep.
for a final product
Yep.
later on.
And whoever does final design will reference our scoping study and developing that.
So on a normal sidewalk, what are they going for per foot or per whatever? I know it's nothing to do with this. I'm just curious because of the amount of money that we put aside for the other project. And I know because of the time that's taken to even get going, that we're nowhere near going to be able to afford what we thought we were 8, 9 years ago when it first started.
Per foot, that's a good question. Chrissy, do you know any of the comparable projects off the top of your head? No, I do not.
No.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Matt. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, one of the questions here was an estimated per foot cost of comparable sidewalk projects, if you knew any of those off the top of your head.
I don't off the top of my head. It all depends on if it's going to be curved, no curving, does it require drainage? And it's something we will certainly have for you at the next meeting. I don't want to throw out a number right now because I don't have anything.
Are there any folks here in the audience that have any comments or concerns or questions that they would present at this time, or anyone on Zoom also? I don't see no hands up. You have to, I'm sorry, Judy, you have to come up to the microphone, give us your name, so everybody else can hear you, and we could pass it back to you.
My name's Judy Hallberg, and I just have a quick question. I wonder if the path that you referred to that's along the sewer right-of-way, how far removed is that from the roadway?
It originates pretty close to the roadway. Yeah, you do the map, pulled up here. The path really starts in this area here, and it comes down to the track and field.
Okay, so it avoids all of that on 103?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, my second slide, it was that red line that followed South Franklin.
Yeah, couldn't make sense on that.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but thank you very much. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyone else? No hands up? Any more questions or concerns from the board?
If residents have questions or concerns between now and the next meeting, should they bring those to the meeting, or is there a way they share that information?
Yeah, I don't mind if my email is
Yep, okay.
shared,
Yep.
and
Okay.
questions can be forwarded to me.
But other than that, you're expecting residents to bring their questions, concerns, and ideas to the next meeting
Yeah, so questions, concerns, comments were intended for
for today?
today. Yep. And
So the
then
next one's a presentation.
a presentation of alternatives or options. Yep.
And key players like the school, all the municipal departments have already reviewed
Great.
and had conversations about this. So this is really for the public.
Great.
And we
So-
can post this presentation on the town website.
Okay. Yeah.
So in April, you'll be giving us the pros and cons of the different routes, or you could be
Yes.
making a recommendation for which one?
Yeah. So I don't know if we'll come in with a preferred alternative. We'll come in with multiple options and pros and cons and maybe preliminary costs. And
So just some rough comparative?
correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then
Chrissy has it.
when the preferred alternative is selected, that's when it's further developed in a more refined cost is developed at that point.
And that will follow that April meeting?
Yeah, the schedule on that is
I think you had
fall,
September.
September.
Okay.
Yep.
Chrissy, do you have your hand up, or is that our cursor?
No, I did, I just wanted to add to what Matt was just saying. So at the next meeting, we're gonna come in with the alternatives that we've developed. Those will include, cost estimates, and then we will also have an evaluation matrix, that will consider the cost as well as some non-monetary factors. And we will not be making a recommendation to you. Ultimately, we'll either, the VHS process is for the town select board to select a preferred alternative. So ultimately, ideally, we would have that at that meeting, at the completion of that meeting. However, it's not necessary that you make a decision at the end of that meeting. If you wanted to give more time for public input or to discuss more amongst yourselves or to ask us questions and have us bring you more information, that's fine. We can work with your schedule on that.
Okay, I'll throw this out now then, because looking at this, and taking into account what Peter said, it makes sense to follow the way the kids are walking, but I see there are quite a few businesses that would be bypassed
Yep.
if you followed the river and came in by the track that way. I wonder if that's something that gets played into your evaluation, like, would this have an impact on those businesses?
Yeah. And I
Would
know-
it be beneficial if the sidewalk went to the businesses is the
Thank you
question you're
for
not
your-
asking.
Thank you
There
for
we
your
go.
eloquence.
One of those is the pot shop, which in my opinion could be bypassed by the kids, should be bypassed.
There's also an inn,
Yep.
a restaurant there, a couple of restaurants, and so.
I know another concern that was brought up is the softball fields, getting from the school to the softball fields.
It depends on what happens with them
What
across
happens
the
to
street.
softball, yeah.
I think about the sidewalks with the businesses. If it's a legal business in the state, I don't know if that should be a concern about ours, whether the sidewalk goes there or not. If that's a consideration. I'd be interested in what the school had to say about their take on it and the other agencies before we as a select board made that decision. It'd be good to have their input on what they thought about it, on how it all went down, and what they thought too.
We
to
can
help
send them,
us.
when you guys get your report for April, we can send it to them ahead of time and get some feedback.
Anything else? Anybody? Well, Matt, thanks for taking the time to
Thank
give
you.
us a presentation, and same, you too, Chrissy, thank you very much.
You guys have me, and we'll see you
We'll
again.
see you in April,
Yeah, yep.
maybe before then.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Thanks, Matt.
Next item is additions or changes or deletions to the agenda. Anybody have anything? We'll go on to our select board minutes, and we need to approve, we have 3 different sets of minutes. The first one being our January 15th select board meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Anybody, Lee's the motion and Ariana's the second. Anybody have any changes, corrections, errors, omissions, anything on the minutes?
I had none.
I had one. On page 9, line 32, it says a certificate of highway knowledge in class 4 roads. I think it's highway mileage, not knowledge.
You were on page 9, Tim?
Page 9, line 32.
Oh, good catch.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was all I had. Great job, thank you, Sue.
Scorecard for the ones you don't get.
Anything else? All those in favor of approving the minutes with that one correction, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The next one is our January 17th special select board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 17th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Second?
Lee's the motion, Ariana's the second. Any changes, corrections, errors, anything on these minutes?
I have none.
I have none.
All good? All those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And the last one, January 22nd, special select board meeting.
Make a motion to approve the January 22nd, 2025 meeting minutes.
Second?
Please, the motion, Ariana's the second. Same question, changes, omissions, errors, anything on those minutes?
I have none.
All those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Next item is citizens' comments. If there is someone here that would like to address the select board regarding an issue that is not on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. Are there any citizens' comments? Hearing none, we'll go to our old business. Julie, can you take us to our old business list?
I can. So in your packet, there was an email regarding the short-term rental ordinance. I'm just sharing that with you. He asked that I share it. You guys can discuss whether or not you want to address that in a future meeting. You can discuss that maybe under the next, or under the new business, yeah. Fire truck is now in St. Albans. Expected delivery would be in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That's been a couple years coming, so that will be here soon. Reminder to everybody that fire truck was grant funded. So a $500,000 truck is costing the town $37,000. So be a great addition. That is our new pumper tanker.
That's a serious looking truck. I don't know if anybody saw the pictures on
I
it,
want a
boy, but
parade.
that's got some,
Yeah,
that's,
it's nice. It's a
that's
nice
not
truck.
a little
It'll be in a
pumper,
parade.
boy.
Yeah, it's a nice truck.
Is
Its
it
primary
replacing-
purpose is a tanker. So the town currently does not have a
So
heavy
it's not
tanker truck.
replacing something?
Correct. But what it will do is down the road, engine 1 will likely not have to be replaced because this is a pumper tanker. So down the road, we could likely eliminate equipment, which is good. Just a reminder, your second meeting in February will be, Dufresne will be back talking about the bond for the sewer projects, and we'll be doing a presentation on the solar field. So those will be the primary agenda items for your second meeting in February. And then you'll see in your packet bylaws adoption. You guys adopted the bylaws a couple meetings ago, but we need to sign the page. So we'll do that here, and then while you are doing that, I will let you know a couple things that were not in your memo. The electric upstairs has started. The outlets are on both sides at this time, and they are currently installing the panel up on the balcony, is the next piece that they're working on. So that whole project should be done in a couple of weeks. Yes, very exciting.
That is exciting. That
Yeah.
place is really coming along.
Yeah, it is. And then very last thing, so the Academy building, I'm going to be meeting, Steve and I will be meeting with a couple of members from the Historical Society regarding, if you recall, we got the big municipal energy grant that will do a lot of work in that building. I don't know if there are 1 or 2 board members who want to be a part of that meeting. You certainly can be. It's going to just be letting the Historical Society know about the improvements that are coming, the heat pumps, the storm windows, the ADA lift, all those types of things. And if there are any board members, thank you, that will want to be a part of that, just let me know.
Do you know
And
when
I
that
can-
meeting is yet?
It will be likely early next week. And you don't have to be. Nobody has to be. I just wanted to open the
Well,
invitation.
if someone's interested, then.
Yep, if anybody's interested, just let me know, and I'll let you know the time.
I would love to if it gets delayed. I'm not available next week, but.
Okay, I'll let you know when it's gonna happen. Okay, all right, that's it for me.
Anybody else have anything on old business? All right, we'll head on to the next item, which is an appeal from Longo Properties. Kevin Longo is here to appeal a decision that was made by our Highway Director Kirby Putnam not granting an access to a driveway that he's proposing to put in at 116 Main Street. I know we got a little messed up in the beginning. You already did a pretty big presentation the first time you were here, and then it was referred back to our Highway Director for his decision first, under advice from council on the order that we had to do things. So it went back to Kirby. Kirby denied it under the conditions and the reasons shown on the letter that everybody has in their packet, and you're here to appeal that decision. And I guess you have a presentation you want to do for us, Kevin, with some added information regarding your request and why we should grant that appeal?
Yes. Excuse me. I've expanded on a few points, and I have a lot more research on other points and stuff. So I'll walk through the presentation, and then maybe after we can follow up. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to review the presentation or the attachments as of yet? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, all right, so you have some
I'm going to be
history on it.
looking at them while you're talking, is that okay?
Yep, just fine. And I also have Virginia, who's on Zoom, that may back me on some points and stuff. So she's pretty familiar with the case, and she's my wife with Longo Properties as well. So I'll start. Thank you for taking the time to follow up on our highway access permit request appeal. Well, we appreciate the continued review. We are disappointed by the recommendation to return to the Department of Public Works, as you mentioned. The same department where the process started 6 months ago. Our initial goal was to secure the highway access permit and complete the driveway prior to winter, thus avoiding many of our current challenges and restrictions that we now face. Following the recent denial from the DPW, we find ourselves once again before the Select Board. We respectfully submit that the DPW's director's decision amounts to selective enforcement, spot zoning, as no other local businesses or properties in the area appear to be subject to the same standards. Throughout the town center, there's no property that meets this criteria now imposed on us. See attachment C, there's some pictures of some comparables and stuff. Furthermore, the denial is incorrectly based on the Vermont Agency of Transportation V-Trans Standard B71 for residential and commercial driveways. These standards are guides, not requirements, developed primarily for high-speed roadways such as VT 103, which is e.g. the 50-mile-per-hour zone, not Main Street Chester. This criteria judges our property the same way as the Vermont Country Store, which is also on the same Class 1 highway. Our property, however, is located within a 25-mile-per-hour zone in the heart of Chester Village. It remains unclear why the town is imposing such elevated standards, particularly when other properties, including the town's public library, which has significantly higher traffic volume, are granted more lenient criteria. Moreover, these guidelines are intended as recommendations rather than mandates. The town's attempt to enforce them appears incongruent with the V-Trans initiative during the previous Class 1 highway reclassification. This is coming from a white paper directly from the V-Trans website. It's later down, but I'm going to read it now and I'll read it later. Reclassification would allow greater town authority over the granting of access and driveway permits and avoids the complications that can result from parallel local and state permitting process. Lastly, the neighbors whose activities prompted our request has notably increased both volume and size of their traffic, frequently involving large trucks and trailers posing more concern for vehicles and pedestrians alike. Despite this increase, they have not been subject to similar scrutiny. In contrast, our proposed change is modest and would benefit tenants, clients, and it aligns with the character of the village. We therefore urge fair and consistent application of the town's regulations. Traffic considerations and improvements due to this project. There will be no increase in traffic. The proposed change will not generate any new traffic. Reduced on-street parking. By shifting some parking off-street, we alleviate some on-street parking in the immediate area. Limited hours of operation. Our building is open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, closed on holidays, which are low traffic periods in the village. Separate school traffic. The local school manages drop-off and pickup on its own property, ensuring no overlap with our proposed changes. Let me just grab some water here. This is directly from the school handbook. It's not in your packets. I found this after. It says drop-off will begin at 7 a.m., which is prior to our hours, I'm sure you know. But it also says cars are to come into the school driveway and then proceed around the parking lot and pull up to the main entrance to drop off their students. That's on their website, 2025 and 2024 parent handbook. If school traffic is such a significant concern for denying LPM, Longo Property Management, highway access permit, we believe the issue extends beyond just the driveway permit. And if that's the case, instead of proceeding with a denial, we would recommend conducting a comprehensive traffic study. And again, if that is the case. Enhanced security, relocating a few vehicles associated with our building to a dedicated area creates a clearer, more navigatable, and safer environment for both cars and pedestrians. Current lot changes. Our building currently shares a parking lot with a confusing, oversized entry-exit, making it difficult for pedestrians to traverse safely. Moreover, the neighbors' increased truck and trailer traffic have created multiple hazards. See attachment D for the photos. The lot is further restricted by existing sheds exacerbating these issues, such as limited visibility. In your packet, I did put in a couple photos. These photos are after the last meeting. I've also shared videos in the Dropbox with the town of some of the trucks, how they obstruct traffic. They do like K-turns in the traffic day or night. There's no one outside in the road guiding them, whether it's pedestrians or vehicles that are in the road at that same point in time. So down bottom, police traffic opinion. The local police department, which manages traffic in the town center and during school drop-off and pickup, has formally stated that it does not take a position on this matter. As they are arguably the most informed town authority on local traffic and safety, their neutrality suggests no safety concern with our proposal. Given this, it is unclear why the DPW would object the permit based on this reason. A few key points that warrant consideration. Historical context. Well, our challenges with the neighboring property have persisted for 3 years. Similar issues have been ongoing for over a decade with previous owners of the Henry office building. Despite considerable effort and expense on our part to de-escalate the situation, it has continued to deteriorate. So this is not a new situation. It preceded us, and we just kind of walked into it. We thought it was resolved because what sparked everything off is the easement was set into motion by a legal process between the two neighbors at that point in time. We bought the property assuming that was resolved, all the issues were behind. They were clearly not. Alignment with town initiatives. Longo Properties believes our request is fully consistent with the town's select board's effort to modernize and update its bylaws. Specifically, and I quote from the December 18th packet, reduce obstacles that impede housing and economic development. This proposal aligns with the town's vision for progress and improvement, demonstrating our mutual commitment to foster a better community. Alignment with the VTrans Policy Planning and Research Bureau, Access Management. This is the standard we're being held to. This is an exact quote from their book, their white paper. Reclassification would allow greater town authority over the granting of access and driveway permits and avoids the complications that can result from parallel and state permitting process. And that you can find on their website. I can send you a link if it wasn't in your packets already. A couple of examples of properties that match the criteria we're being held to, again, is the Vermont Country Store, SD Service Terminal and stuff. Those are other properties on VT 103. That's a 50-mile-per-hour zone where they are held to different standards. Proposed solution. So our solution is a driveway, the plans below, that includes a 5.5-foot buffer between our property and the neighboring lot. This buffer ensures adequate space for snow plowing, drainage, and other considerations, addressing potential concerns about proximity and encroachment. Last meeting, Lauren was here. She's the other neighbor and stuff. So it was recommended by the select board that we talk and see if we can reach an agreement. Well, we have. We floated a written agreement to her and made a couple changes, and we both signed that agreement, and that's been fully executed. So by doing that, we did that in good faith. Longo Properties has entered an agreement with the owner of 97 Main Street, who agrees not to oppose the driveway installation. I have that agreement. I can show you or read, the most important line, I guess. But, I figure I'd just keep it private for the sake of privacy. I don't think she's here tonight either to oppose or anything, so. Getting there. All right, 6. So this is an image of what we're looking to do with the property. It shows the minimum space between the building and the neighbor is 20 feet. This allows for the full width of the driveway and a 5.5-foot barrier, a grass barrier between her building and the driveway. This is at the narrowest point. The narrow point's not that long. It's about 15 feet long. 5, restricted access. So this is one of the other points we're contesting. We currently have no reasonable means of accessing our property. Ongoing conflicts with the neighbors show no sign of resolution, creating immediate challenges that must be addressed. See attachment A. Key issues include threats and barriers. Our neighbors have employed verbal and written threats, erected physical barriers, blocking parking spaces with various objects, curbs, sheds, vehicles. These actions interfere both with the clients and vendors, limiting Longo Property Management's ability to maintain our building. They sent a letter threatening our surveyor. A formal letter accused our independent surveyor of falsifying information. See attachment B. You have that letter. We provided it. Snow removal challenges. Currently, we are without a plowing service, as our neighbors have repeatedly deterred our selected contractor from performing necessary work. As of right now, all plowing vendors have been chased away. We don't have any. We have to do the snow removal ourselves. So that's been quite the headache and problem. Harassment. The neighbor has been observed yelling at clients and making obscene gestures. See pictures below. Hazardous truck traffic. Frequent and unchecked trucks and trailer traffic, including oversized loads at all hours, creates unsafe conditions for our property. Multiple videos have been sent to the town and shared in the Dropbox. restricted access for support and maintenance. So it's not just plow equipment, but they claim the neighbor's current interpretation of the easement now limits essential services required, i.e. subcontractors that maintain and service our facility, including commercial vehicle access. These restrictions prevent us from maintaining the property and meeting tenants' needs. At one point, when they stopped plowing our areas, no notice was given. We found out through the Chester Police Department. Now, this is a statement from the Chester Police Department. After speaking with Skip and Amy, they have modified their snow removal so snow does not get pushed over the line, but it resulted in a large amount of snow accumulation along the eastern edge of the access easement. You'll see on the video how much snow was left behind. So they left snow through the whole easement area and prevented access for our tenants and stuff. Additionally, they said, they told me that they believe the easement does not permit you to have subcontractors to use the easement and provide services to your property such as snow removal. So the one time they stopped pushing all their snow of the parking lot into our backyard, they just pushed it into our parking spaces and the easement, the 15-foot easement access, and just left it there. And then they say, we can't plow it. So that created quite the issue. Legal recourse. Vermont State Attorney chose not to prosecute per CPD. I have it in an email. Everything I have and say, I have documentation for. For criminal trespassing, indication of focus on more serious violent offenses. An additional trespass report has been filed. You'll see a couple pictures there too. I mean, they're willing to do this to our clients and stuff, so I don't think there's a problem publishing this in the public folder and sharing this with the select board. There was a near fight last March 24th between the Nortons and one of our clients for our building, after Skip was seen yelling and swearing at this guy's wife. It created quite a stir. I was notified by one of the tenants about it. Commitment to resolution. Longo Properties remains fully committed to pursuing the driveway permit as the only viable long-term solution to these persistent issues. We believe this step is essential to ensure ongoing functionality and safety of the Henry office building. In light of these circumstances, we respectfully urge the Select Board to approve our driveway permit. This project represents a substantial investment in our property and benefits a broader community. It offers a practical, well-considered solution to ongoing access and safety concerns, enabling us to continue serving our tenants and Chester and the Chester community effectively. A vote to approve this permit will show the Select Board votes to support 5 local businesses in the village of Chester. We appreciate your consideration and look forward to your approval so we can proceed with the necessary improvements to our building. As previously mentioned, Longo Property Management intends to rehabilitate the property, and pending an approval tonight, Longo Property Management is fully committed to restoring this remarkable historic property. LPM is also in contact with the Vermont Agency of Commerce and Community Development and is applying for grants to fund additional improvements beyond those already planned. So I have a few attachments and things we can go through, but I don't know if maybe now's a good time to kind of stop for a moment if there's any questions, and then Virginia does have a statement at some point.
Any questions from any of the board members for Kevin?
I'm still taking everything in at the moment.
I have a quick question. If you were granted this right-of-way for the curb cut for a driveway, would you relinquish all the easements that go on with the property so that you wouldn't have anything to worry about with the neighbor then at that point?
We would work with our attorney who would work with them to find a way to dissolve it, because there's certain stipulations in the easement where they have a fence on our property. And so if the easement is relinquished, like, you know, we don't want them to like have to maintain a fence on our property that says antiques, even though we own that property. So we have to untangle some of the aspects of the easement.
But you're
intention.
you're willing.
We're looking to figure out what
I mean, it
that
sounds like
process is.
a fence wouldn't be a big stumbling block at this
I can't
point,
imagine.
considering what's going on.
Right.
Unless you wanted it to be.
The fence?
And, yeah,
Oh,
well,
no, I just want it gone.
so in other words, you're more than willing to legally dissolve the easement, so it wouldn't cause any more problems between the two neighbors on this side, on the.
I'd confirm with our council as to.
So you're not
what
sure?
Well, I have to figure out the path. We haven't spent a ton of time saying, how do we?
Well, I'm just
resolve
curious,
this?
because
Yeah.
you spent a lot of time on everything else, but
Right.
it just seems.
Well, if I don't have the, sorry to cut you.
No, go ahead.
If I don't have the driveway, then it doesn't matter. Like, I don't have to spend, you know, hours of time for an attorney at $400 an hour to figure out how to dissolve an easement that, like, he'll just provide the roadmap and then I'll follow the roadmap, so.
But that's your intention,
That's our intention, yes.
to dissolve it and be done with it.
Yeah, we want to
so-
put a fence right up that property line.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns?
I was curious, I looked at the two easement deeds for the two properties that were executed. I don't know if that was before you were the owner or?
It was before, yes.
Okay. So, again, I've said this last time you were here, I'm not an attorney and I don't intend to ever be one or play one on TV, but in reading this, which one am I looking at here? This is the grantors, I think. Article 3 says, non-interference with access trucks. The owners, tenants, employees, and customers of the grantors and the grantee shall not interfere with the ability of the owners, tenants, employees, or customers of either property to access their area to the rear of the building on either property. It is specifically acknowledged that trucks, trailers, or other large vehicles serving the owners of 128 Main Street may be parked alongside or to the rear of the structure at 128 Main Street, so long as they do so in a manner that does not interfere with the access as defined above. The 15-foot access easement is for the benefit of both grantors and grantee and shall be kept clear at all times. So that seems like pretty clear language to me. At the end of this, both of these documents, there's an acknowledgement of arbitration. And so I guess my question is, has this been arbitrated?
No.
Wouldn't that be a logical step to take before?
We had to run through small claims court, but that was not successful.
According to this, you have no authority to do that.
Well, that was also, that's part of the issue is, and part of the argument in the past is the arbitration agreement is not between us. It's between the past property
I
owners.
think it's all rights and assigns going forward, so it's in perpetuity the way I read it. Again, I'm not an attorney and
Yeah.
I might be wrong about
I had
this.
2 attorneys review it at different points in time, and they felt like it was not a valid document for us to carry forward and run with.
Any of these easement documents?
Well, as far as the deeded stuff, yes. As far as like how you read what we should have like access to for trucks and stuff to come plow, I read it the same way you read it. They don't read it that way. And the problem is when our contractors come, they get in a debate with the contractors over the stipulations of the easement. The contractors don't know, they don't care, they're just coming because they want to plow out our parking spaces, or they're coming because they want to empty the trash. They don't want the headache, so they all leave. Like now, as I lose more vendors, there's none to be had. Like Chester's not that big of a market. Like how many plow companies are there? We've gone through pretty much all of them.
So again, coming back to this document, Article 5 says, ongoing snow plowing, repairs, and maintenance of the areas subject to the above referenced shared access and parking easement shall be primarily under the control of the grantors, who shall be obligated, that's a strong word, to provide for the plowing, repair, and maintenance of such areas in a prompt and reasonable manner.
So
That seems pretty clear to me.
it is. So now it goes back to the last meeting too. We had the conversation about enforcement. So we go to the courts. We spend all this time, we spend all this money, we get court orders to force them to do it. They don't do it. Now, if we can't get criminal charges prosecuted by the state's attorney, I mean, what good's a court order gonna do in this respect? Like, the documents may say one thing, but look at the pictures. They tell a different story. The pictures tell the reality. The document tells something that's behind the scenes that's not able to be fully executed.
Well, it looks like arbitration is the direction that I would go. So that's where I am on this. And as far as
Can I jump in?
In a
As far
second,
as-
Virginia, I see your hand up, I'll get right to you. You'll be up next.
As far as the driveway itself, you know, when you were here before, my concern was pedestrian traffic and having another driveway entrance there across that sidewalk near the school. There is quite a bit of pedestrian walkway along through there. So that hasn't changed for me. That's still my concern. And my preference would be to see this go to arbitration, you two work it out, somehow become able to get along, and the driveways stay as they are. But that's where I stand on this at this point.
So based on, so we have a lot of attachments that show, that depict all the different activities that are going.
I looked at
Now,
every picture.
How do you run a business with those obstacles? If you can't get vendors up, like who's gonna plow my property tomorrow? We have 5
It's-
inches of snow coming.
It's
Friday
it's
night.
their responsibility to plow, that's what it says right
So
here.
they don't plow it. So what do we do at that point?
Go to arbitration.
Okay, so a month down the road, we get our arbitration appointment and stuff. We have our date. What happens from now to that month? Like, I went for a simple highway access permit in July, thinking a week later I would have it, and here I am. You know, nothing goes, and I respect the questions, they're fair questions, I don't mean to sound contentious about it, but we've navigated all these processes as much as we could, and we've reevaluated everything and said, what's the most feasible action we can take? Hands down, across the board, we 100%, we feel, one way or another, this driveway is the means to the end. This is what we need to solve the problem. It gives our building autonomy, it'll take all our headaches out of town hall. The CPD won't be involved in our day-to-day operations and stuff for both properties. They're gonna be left out of the mix. It'll be less of a headache for them, it'll be less of a headache for me, it'll be less of a headache for our tenants, and then we'll be able to hire vendors that can come in and access our property unimpeded. We can have clients to our businesses that come on our property, they don't get sweared at. Guess what? They're not gonna get the double bird by Skip when they are just trying to turn their truck around.
Virginia had a
Like,
comment?
that's quite an issue for us. I mean, how do you operate
Kevin, hang
under
in there
those
for a second.
conditions?
Hang in there for a second. Go ahead, Virginia.
I just want to address a couple things, because Kevin comes at it from the way that he sees it, and I have a little bit different of a lens. Just to address the mediation, we texted the Martins and begged to have a conversation with them, and they said to us, we'll do whatever we want, it's our property, and you'll pay for whatever we do. So the idea of we would not spend thousands and thousands of dollars on lawyers if we could have mediated this in any way. What their hope is that we just do that, that we go back and forth to mediation and they can spin the wheels and control, everything, because they're totally upset that we bought that building. They were upset before us, they'll be upset after us. It's just, and from my standpoint, we've always loved Chester. My father-in-law lived in Londonderry, Vermont. We would visit, almost every weekend. We would be up there. We'd be in Chester. We fell in love with the town. It was our intent when we bought this building to use that, the building and the apartment in there as a land
expanding that, where we could go and, you know, as we get retired, we could become part of that Chester community. I am a pediatric occupational therapist. I had sort of dreams of putting a small pediatric office because it's so needed in Vermont. I can tell you I get calls probably a minimum of once a week for needing occupational therapy needs, especially someone who specializes in pediatrics. And I had to give up on that dream simply because I deal with families that have trauma and that have to work against adversity on a level that normally, you know, people don't have in their lives. And there is no way that I would invite any of my clients or patients into that driveway, not for a second, because they just hate. And they just hate. I mean, they're sitting there tonight ready to just spew paint again. They have no bones about just thinking about every way that they can make things impossible for us because they're mad about the business. Now, I mean, I understand that there's these zoning precedents. I understand that it is much more complicated than that. But what I would say to you is that we cannot, as much as we dreamed about putting into that town, and we left it the Henry office building when we were, you know, able to come up without being harassed. We were coming up, making, you know, improvements. Without that driveway, we're kind of at a standstill. We're stuck. I won't even go up there. I haven't been there in a year because that is like, I don't want to deal with that. That's too much, and I think nobody should have to deal with it. Not clients, you know, certainly not, you know, anybody in that building. It's just grossly unfair in how awful they are to people. And I mean, I just wanted to put that out there because I don't think that it's coming across with how much we have tried to do everything we possibly can. We literally tried to, like, just walk on eggshells for a year with them and, like, okay, we know that they're complaining about an air conditioning dripping on the, you know, on their property. They're calling that their property. Okay, we know they're complaining about a cone that somebody put out because they're afraid somebody's gonna slip. This is you know, we tried to just work with them. It didn't work. Like, there's no reason for us to spend, and we could literally show these bills, thousands and thousands of dollars on lawyers to, if we could have just mediated it. I would have loved that. I would have loved, we could have had such a better relationship. I love antiques. I probably would have been at their store every weekend. You know, I mean, it could have been such a different world, but their hatred for whoever owns that business has just trumped over everything.
All right, thank you, Virginia.
One other aspect.
Hold on a second. Is Cortland Pennell, did you have your hand up also? No.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. Sorry.
I thought he put a comment
No.
in the chat.
So,
Go ahead, Kevin.
we're looking to reinvest in the property and renovate the property. All that money could be going into the local economy. So we could be hiring all local contractors to do this. We come up on weekends. I don't even have a working stove in there. We go out to eat when we're up here. So the less we're up here, the less we're spending at local businesses and stuff. Our kids and stuff, they could use the property. They don't really use the property. So there's a lot of money that, I mean, granted, it's, you know, one property. It's not like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but this year alone, the plan's to put in about $100,000 in repairs and renovations. The driveway alone is $30,000. Local contractor, the plan is. We're gonna hire a local contractor to redo the front porch. That grant program I was talking about gives tax credits and stuff for doing all kinds of renovation work on the front of the building. The goal is to beautify the community and stuff. So all these initiatives we're trying to do are in line with everything everyone here, we believe, is trying to do. And then we see the whole bylaws and stuff get passed with the changing of setbacks and with the spirit to make things like this easier to happen and stuff. We see this V-Trans document, that same thing. They've relinquished some of these controls to the local towns and stuff to make it easier for approvals and stuff. Like, I mean, clearly, I have a hard time understanding why this has gone as far as it has, but the point is that it can be remedied tonight. Like, with the approval and stuff, you know, we talked to Kirby and we schedule a curb cut and go from there. We talked to JMC about getting the driveway installed, bringing down the tree, all that kind of stuff. We're off to the races, but that's money that goes into this local community. If we don't have that driveway, that building's very limited on what we can do with it. If we start losing tenants, I'm not gonna put $100,000 into a building and start losing tenants and have all this risk. It's just not worth it. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I understand all your issues that you're having, and part of my point of view on this is a lot of them don't seem like they're exactly related to a decision that we have to make regarding guidelines and regarding a decision that's already been handed down from the highway department. The Nortons are here. If you guys would like to speak to this issue, you're allowed to at this point also. So if one of you would like to come up, please make your statements addressed to the board, and do not get into a discussion with Mr. Longo. Anything that you have to say is directed towards the board. So this is your chance if you'd like to come up and say anything. Just identify yourself and...
Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
sure,
Yeah.
absolutely, sure.
Okay. For all you don't know me, Amy Norton. We purchased the Gould's Market at 128 Main Street 10 years ago now, I guess, or I'm known as the problematic neighbor. Anyways, the problem I'm seeing, you know, like you said yourself, it's pretty self-explanatory, the easement. The problem what I see is Mr. Longo is not happy with the easement. There is a 15-foot access easement that stay clear at all times. The problem, as far as he talks contractors and plowers. The plow trucks would come in and drop their plows on our property and plow our property. And there's a reason we're in charge of plowing our property. You know, it's our insurance covering everything, yada, yada, yada. We didn't scream, we didn't holler at them. We just specifically told them, this is our property, please don't drop your plow on there, okay? And if you read the easement, it's specified for the owner, the tenants, and their employees. So, I mean, it's pretty much out in black and white. We're not hatred people, okay? He speaks of court. Yes, we had to go to court. We had to go to small claims court because it is also stated that he is to pay half of the maintenance. The plow bills were not getting paid. I took it to small claims court. We did win our case. On the kickback, we were sued for damage to his property. He tried a lawsuit against us, which also backfired, and he lost that case as well. So as far as hatred, for some reason, everything he has tried, he has brought against us, the trucks and the trailers. Again, they can't be interfered with. It's our business, that's what we do. We've been doing it for 10 years. The previous owners, we've never had a problem with them. Actually, neighborly, the backyard. We own the boot jack. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the boot jack back there. It's a space in between the parking spaces that Mr. Longo owns. We plow that because it belongs to us. Neighborly, why not clear it all? You know what? Getting it done as a freebie. What happens? Now a no trespassing order gets put on us. Why? I don't know. So therefore, we can't go onto his property. As far as the extra driveway, I mean, why 2 accesses? It's a small building, I don't know, what is it, house 4 or 5 units, whatever not. They have sufficient parking out back. All of his tenants actually show up every day. Hi, how are you? We always wave, we're helping one trying to drive home one day. We see them every day, it's always friendly. They swing way out over the 15-foot line. We don't say anything to them. I'm not gonna stand out there and holler, hey, you gotta stay within that, you know. It's just one thing after the other. As far as a second driveway, the problem of it is, This easement went into play 4 years ago. It's only been 4 years. So, I know you look confused. So what happened is we bought it 10 years ago, long story short. We were sued for adverse possession. We fought it, we stood our ground to protect our property for that many years. The easement went into play, everything was all broke down exactly how it says now, and that such. Now, where does I go with that? So yeah, no, the easement's only been in play for 4 years. But as far as like him putting in the driveway, I mean, that destroyed our property as well, the value of it, to have the easement. So don't think we didn't like it. We had to struggle and go through that many years of courts and argument and all that. It got resolved. As far as the previous owners, we actually never had a problem with them. We all got along, everybody was happy, they never said a word. You know, him putting in a second driveway, I'm not sure how that would benefit. Why would you need, you know, 2 driveways to come in and around? I've been there at 2:30, I think it's 2:30 in the afternoon when school gets out. I mean, there is some serious parking down that street. It is just a, you know, kind of a catastrophe. But if you put that driveway in, now you've lost parking there. Beyond, you've lost public parking. And again, we had to sacrifice to give up an easement to our property, and clearly it states in the easement is to stay clear at all times. We've tried to bring our truck into the property. There's Rogerio's trash truck parked right in the easement, right in the middle. Actually, I have a picture of Mr. Longo's van parked right in the easement. Today, our trash truck I told him, you cannot park there, you need to move, and he moved, and that's what I do. We don't go out there and holler and scream at people and all of that. We're not hateful people. You know, like I said, we go out back and just clear everything out, which is the way it should be done. Now he's complaining, he's got to come up and plow. We're hollering at his contractors. We tell his contractors, don't plow our property. It's our property, just don't plow it. Don't drop a plow, we're in charge. Yeah. So I guess that's my standpoint of it. I mean, I don't know if Skip has anything to add. How about it?
How you doing?
Just give us your name, Skip.
My name's Skip Norton. I'm the owner of Barton Corner, 128 Main Street, Chester. And watched the last meeting there, was very surprised. I mean, we didn't even have a chance to come in here to even defend ourselves or whatever. I listened to this stuff tonight. I mean, Mr. Longo, I have no problem. I'm not going to say I'm the best person in the town of Chester, but I'm as friendly and neighborly as anybody could be, okay? Believe me, I mean, I don't think any time the police has come over to me and arrested me because of disorderly conduct or threatened Mr. Longo, this gentleman, that's never happened at any time. Yes, the police have been over because he has this camera system and voice activated. Believe me. I got to tell you, I hate to say it in front of him, I do like it because it takes care of the whole yard now, okay? I don't like the fact that it's voice activated. I couldn't talk to you in my own yard purchasing something or, you know, whatever. But he says then I interfered with the surveyor that come up. He hired a surveyor. I hired a surveyor when I bought the place because it wasn't penned. It all got penned now, okay? He hired a surveyor from North Springfield or whatever to come over. This surveyor comes over 15 feet on my property where this access easement, because it starts A to B from the front to the school fence, straight line. He has this surveyor come over. The surveyor's now putting pins 15 feet of my property. I said, whoa, what are you doing? You're on my property. I asked him to remove them. Mr. Longo, of course, apparently told him, no, just leave it alone. I talked to the police about it. The police said he has no business putting pins on my property, all right? The other fact is I've threatened him, and believe me, honestly, like Amy said, we plowed it as a friendly, neighborly gesture. And now today, to me to plow it, no, of course I wouldn't, because he put no trespass, and then, like she said, he put a lawsuit because we damaged his property and all. Come on, let's be honest. The easement states it all. This gentleman's read part of it. He's complaining about the trucks and the trailers, excessive, over width, all that. I'm permitted. I'm permitted for over width, okay? Believe me, DOT, US DOT numbers on the trucks. I'm doing nothing wrong. We've had no parks anytime back in the kid is gonna get, believe me, I'm gonna watch for that, okay? We've got mirrors on the trucks and all that kind of stuff. If somebody's waiting or talking to us on the radio, if I see where it would be dangerous, I would jump out if I had to, and which has been done, not because it's dangerous, but. So that's not really an issue. Like he says, you can't even interfere. Mr. Longo, I talked to him half an hour, 45 minutes before he bought his property. We sat on the back lawn. I said, listen, I went through this with the Kendalls and Bob Olbrich, previous owner. I said, they sued me for adverse possession. I spent 5.5 years in court, mediation, getting this settled, resolved. Okay, they took the easement because they wanted to sell the property. And they actually had no right to be through there until they got that easement. I told Mr. Longo, I said, that's what you got, a 15-foot easement to get out to your back parking. And it states in there, it's Mr. Longo, or it says the owner, the tenant, and his employee. States right in it, black and white, all right? The customers are allowed to park anywhere in the yard they want if it's available. It states in that easement. So he's making his customers now, which not supposed to park behind him because the easement says it's for him and them. They've got all their customers now parking out back of the building. Well, so be it. It's not me. When I make a complaint to and I don't complain, if you drive your car in and park in front of in the easement to go into the tax lady to get your paperwork or whatever, come on. We got no parking signs up. They have since, the tax lady has put up a sign, no parking, no stopping, all right? That easement is supposed to be open all times, 24/7, it's stated. He calls up the cop when he has no trespassing order. Chester Police come on, we're there at 10 o'clock tonight, not bothering anybody, trying to get things done, everybody's closed. Cop comes in, and I said, oh boy, here we go. Well, my son's van's parked in this boot jack on his side that we own. It's all pinned. He says, I got a call from Longo, you're on his property. I says, but we're not on his property. He said, what's the van? I said, first of all, that's my son's van, and it's in the boot jack that we own. So I said, if you have a minute, could you get out and it's dark, 10 o'clock at night. I'd like to just show you quick where these pins are. And luckily for us, the officer was decent about it. He got out, we showed him the pins. He was pretty disgusted. He was going back to get hold of Mr. Longo and say, you know what, enough is enough. We didn't call him because we're on his property, and we weren't on his property. Since then, since the police officer contacted him, we don't seem to have an issue, all right? He says that we're the problematic neighbor. You come over there and watch. The man is just, he bought the place, and now that he thinks we're trying to be a jerk to him, and I'm not. I mean, we're saying here, go to court, go to court. You can't go to court, technically. Yeah, we could take him to small claims court because he didn't pay the previous past plow bill. And it sucks because I had to go a whole year to even collect my money, okay, to do that. This past month, the other day, we get a letter from him after the bill he's supposed to pay in December. I'm not going to be paying you because it's got to be made out to Longo property manager and not Kevin Longo. I'm not paying. I mean, come on. What are we doing? And I have these in text, and believe me, I can show anybody who wants to. So I said, well, fine, no problem. We've been to court. You got a court order to pay me, which you did pay me. This is the past year. Today I get a check in the mail. That's the way I shouldn't. Why are we arguing? It's just like a kid's game. Anything this gentleman can do, and then they stand here, him and his wife tonight, she's scared to come up. Why? Well, don't be scared of me. Any one of you people can come over there anytime. I mean, I'm going above it, but I've helped people that don't even have heat in their house. Take them to the hardware store and buy bundles of wood. A lady comes in and wants to sell her wedding band to buy Thanksgiving dinner. Believe me. I'm as friendly, I'm going to tell you right now, strike me dead, as a neighbor you could get. You got a thing to go by. You just got to abide by it. Now, going to do this other driveway he wants in there, why is he trying it? if he just abides by that thing, he's got no problem, okay? And if I don't stand my ground, I'll be getting another suit in 15 years. Because they can say, well, we just did what we did and all that. I went through that seriously with Gould and all of them. And like I said, we did win the case. I'm not supposed to talk about all these law firms that lost, but we
Skip.
did.
Thank you.
Wrap it up, Scott.
Okay, so the other part, yeah, well, the part of the driveway, that second driveway that they're asking to put in, I don't see any reason he would need that second driveway. He's got, what, an eighth of an acre out back. He's got a drainage problem out there right now because the water runs from both his property and our property into that corner. Now, if you fill that in and do something, now the water's gonna now run out into the school property on the playground, which, you know, that's taken up later. We have a parking issue with the school out front. Now, you're gonna take away one or two spaces. What are we gonna do?
The fact that he's going for a permit doesn't really concern you as far as the ramifications of him having that there. I think we're getting a little off track on this and stuff about all the what-ifs and what's gonna happen and what's not gonna happen. We've got a decision as a board just to decide whether we're gonna grant a driveway access.
But I kinda wanted you to get the feel of us too,
No, we
okay?
got the feel of it.
Thank you.
We definitely got the feel of it.
So now-
What the feel I got is you got two neighbors that don't get along.
No,
And
disagree.
now
I
it's
get
my
you,
turn
but
to
yes,
talk. It's
yeah.
my, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I am, it's like,
I just-
we're not having, this is on us right now. So,
I have a question.
yeah, sure.
So is that 15-foot easement, is that edge of that marked on the pavement?
Oh, it's good, just a straight line, 15 feet from the...
Is it marked on the pavement?
Well, yeah, pretty much. You got an
So there's a
established boundary
line,
line.
there's a line that goes, a visible line you can see from the street all the way to the back of your property?
There'll be no line, no.
Okay,
no
well,
line.
that's, so
They go eight
how
up, eight
are
down.
people to know that that easement is there and they're not supposed to cross the line? My question is, somebody shows up to plow, is there a line on the ground that they're supposed to notice and say, okay, I can't go on this side, or you have to stay on this side?
If somebody shows up to plow, they're not supposed, I'm in charge of all the plowing estates in the easement. So there would be no reason to be on my property dropping your plow.
So how's he supposed to plow the back of his property, his parking lot?
He pretty much has no way, if you look at the easement, he has no way to plow, period, because he would be in that easement, which is my property. The easement
But that's the whole point of an easement, is to allow anybody to go through there.
No,
And
well, yes, but you've got to state what it is. It doesn't say anybody in that easement.
Now, again, that's a question.
That's attorney stuff.
That question for an attorney, yeah,
Yes.
but from my perspective, this is an issue that I see you on this side not wanting to budge an inch, and Mr. Longo on the other side not wanting to budge an inch, and you're just butting heads. And then you're dragging us into it because you guys can't solve this problem. You know, the issue again is coming down, I agree with Arnie, I don't know what to do. You know, certainly, he needs to be able to have people come and service his building, and there's not really enough on-street parking, or you gotta get vehicles behind the building or whatever. If you guys are squawking about somebody driving on that 15-foot easement to get to his parking space behind his building, then what's he supposed to do?
You're hearing, excuse me, but you're hearing it wrong. No, we're not arguing about somebody driving down the easement to get behind his building.
That's not what I heard, and I'm seeing pictures.
No, what we're talking, when they park in that easement, 24/7 is supposed to be open, right? That's when I speak up.
Okay,
I
so
don't
it's
say
only when
anything
people are
about-
blocking the easement.
In that easement up by his
Okay.
building, okay? I don't even, if they're down in the back, I don't say nothing. It's up front because we all got signs, including he just put a sign beside of him. Okay?
Mr. Norton, why would you be against him having a separate driveway and with the stipulation that he released the easement and it was all yours then? I mean, it seemed like that would be a win for both of us.
I have no problem with that. I have no problem, but that's not gonna happen. And that's something his attorney and our attorney, I would want to make sure that's gonna be done before he's allowed, because I have the feeling he's gonna want me to buy that easement. And he tried to buy the easement from me when he first went in, and I wouldn't sell it, okay, because it's my property. If he was going to give up that easement, any concern, he's right, he just said he would put a fence up, down through, that's fine. I wouldn't have a problem as long as it went to the boundary lines. then you wanna go ahead and put that other one, I think it's crazy, because what he's got
Yeah, but
would do it, but
that's-
you're taking some more parking away, because, I mean, look in the afternoon with the school. But I don't, that does
Yeah,
not bother me,
yeah.
okay?
Those are some of the
I-
easier decisions, I think,
I
that we
just
have
don't
to make
think
about
that,
the
that he
parking and
needs
the
two
cut.
accesses to that property right there when he's got the easement. If he, I mean, they just make it look like we're the bad guys, I'm telling you. Come over there this week, we got 2 storms coming in, see how I plow it. There was never a pile of snow in that easement area, believe me. I plowed for 60 years, okay? And I don't even leave a root for you to stumble on in my yard, I'm very particular about that stuff. But anyway, okay, that's good for me, I just wanted you to speak, but I know it's not your decision, everything is supposed to go, he's right, to arbitration. That, it doesn't even go to court. They don't
I'm
dare
not
to
gonna
take it to
arbitrate.
arbitration, is what I'm telling you, but anyway.
All right, thank you, Mr. Norton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add a couple points?
Sure.
I feel all the technical issues that Kirby raised, we've addressed. We have adequate responses, obviously, in my opinion. As I was just saying, I feel like all the technical issues Kirby raised, we have addressed as far as the VT standards and stuff. As far as the traffic concern and stuff, the police department, they manage that intersection with the school. They're on record. I have an email I can provide if needed. There's other stuff in it, so I didn't, but I'm happy to provide it. It's public information. Where they state they are neutral on this issue. They don't have an opinion either way. They manage all the children in that area. They watch them walk into the school, they watch them get dropped off, they manage all the cars and stuff. They're on record saying they don't have an opinion. They just stated that we're unable to have plow vehicles and other vehicles traverse our access easement. I provide pictures and facts to all of these things. Everything I'm stating, there's documentation. Like everything they're mentioning, yeah, there's nothing to support it. And like I wondered the same thing, and I'm glad you asked it, is why would they oppose this? Like, you know, other than trying to save face, because unfortunately I have to bring some of these issues public to make my point about not having access. Like, there's no way of saying I don't have access because they do this to me without providing pictures of them doing this to me, of them mistreating our tenants and stuff by giving them both middle fingers and stuff, by yelling profanities at our clients and stuff. You know?
I don't want to revisit all that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's
Falsifying
a-
information for the surveyor. He's chasing off all our vendors. We don't have viable access. That's the other technical point, so I was just summing up to that. Thank you.
We have to make a decision as a select board. I mean, I don't know another way around this. I mean, you can go through all the different documents and all the different statements that are made in there, and you could argue them in a few different ways. I know both of you feel that you're clear cut on your side of the story. Most of the time when I've, in life, have dealt with folks that are butting heads, somewhere in the middle is the real answer that's there somewhere. But
We both agree we should have the driveway.
I think that you, at this point, should step back from the table so the board can have a discussion. Thank you very much.
thank you, Mr. Longo.
Thank you.
And the discussion is, we have to make a decision on this, on how we want to go with this.
I support Kirby's decision. He wouldn't have taken the stance that he had if he thought that it would, it was for the better one way or another. And Kirby makes a lot of these decisions every day all through the town.
I see some of the examples about curb cuts and stuff that were brought up, and most of all the driveways and the curb cuts that were mentioned in the village are from hundreds of years ago, most of it from before zoning, before anything. In all the years I've been on the select board, I don't think I've ever had a curb cut appeal come to us, because I don't think there has been any new ones in town over the years.
You know, Kirby did want me to say that, that he has never issued a curb cut on Main Street.
because of just the way it is.
It just hasn't
It's just,
There hasn't been one requested
Correct.
since zoning started.
and there's all different kinds. There's some that are shared, there's some that are right next to each other, there's some houses don't even have a curb cut, don't even have driveways. I mean, historically, the village is the way it is because that's the way it's formed over all the years. A lot of these recommendations and not requirements, recommendations from the state are relatively recent that were put forth. And one of the statements that was made regarding it being a 103 being a state highway, when I looked at those recommendations, it did break down by speed of what the recommendations were for different areas. So like for, anything further out on 103 with the country store or something like that has different recommendations than it does in the center of town and stuff, so.
So I'm looking at Kirby's letter,
Yeah.
and he's got 5 bullet points that or 4 bullet points that lay out his reasoning for denying the request. First is inadequate with the driveway, it should be 24 feet, not 12 feet for two-way access for commercial buildings. This is a commercial building. I guess my question is there sufficient traffic to warrant requiring two-way access? Second is inadequate distance between driveways, 155 feet for a posted speed limit of 25. It seems like while a number of these driveways are grandfathered in, they're certainly a lot closer than 155 feet. It's currently side street parking in front of 160 Main Street, which is heavily used. This creates poor visibility when exiting the property. The addition of a second access would further increase visibility concerns. That's a valid point. Proximity to elementary school produces high pedestrian traffic. And this is an issue that I've thought of, and again, this isn't really something for us to stick our noses into, but it seems to me that the school has changed their policy or is not allowing parents to drive through the parking area anymore, that everybody's parking out on the street, either from not having no line to wait in line to restricting access to that part of the school property. I'm not sure why, but when I drive through that part of town when the school is getting released, it's a madhouse. And to me, I think that's more of an issue, a safety issue, than having another driveway cut. Is there something that the school should do or could do? And I have had a conversation with the principal at the school about that whole issue. The Baptist church is right next door, and there's probably a dozen cars in that church parking lot during release time. And, we don't really care, but the point is that there's an issue that needs to be addressed that could be causing this particular bullet point to be made that isn't necessarily the Longo's problem. Not to disagree with you, Peter, but I think the Henry Office Building now houses 5 businesses, and if the neighbors can't get along, then something needs to be done in order to provide for a way of keeping those businesses in town. We've already got enough empty buildings in town, and while this is not an ideal solution, certainly I would rather see the neighbors get along. Contrary to some of the statements that have been made, I think there's a lot that could be done in order to solve that issue. I'm not going to float any ideas because I'm not intimately familiar with the details, but it seems like there's other ways to approach this that could result in less heat in this particular situation. Again, I don't know. I'm with you. It's not clear to me.
There's no way.
If it were my preference, I would not do the driveway, but have the neighbors sort it out. The fact that there's an easement that had to be put into place means that somebody was having an argument about it at some point. And, you know, realistically, putting in a driveway may solve that problem if the easement goes away, but it might not. I don't know.
We don't have the authority to put conditions on a driveway like
No,
this.
of course
Otherwise,
not.
I would love to put a condition on that says that easement goes away and you don't try to make money on it, you just give it away, considering it's only 4 years old as it is, and it was obtained through adverse possession, which is, well, I've been using your land for so long, so therefore I should have a right to do it from now on. That's true, it seems like on private property. You tried that on a Class 4 road, where you would say, hey, that's been in my yard for 40, 50 years, and you know, the town can't have it back now. No, that doesn't work, because there is no adverse possession. The town turns around and says, nope, that's the town's Class 4 road, and away it goes. So it must be applied differently, I guess, to private property as far as the easements go. I would love for the easement to disappear, and then I would be more inclined to grant a driveway access like that, to separate the two. The problem with that is now you're bringing the driveway closer to another person's house. So she stated in a letter that she doesn't oppose it. She's not for it. She's not going to, you know, jump up and say, oh, this is great, it's a great idea. It was stated that, okay, I'm not going to oppose it, but because she believes in people's rights that have property and what they could do with their property. So I believe, and who knows, I don't pretend to know what somebody's thinking about when they sign a document or what. If it was my house on the other side, I'd be over here. I'd be opposing it. I'd be very upset about the whole thing. It's just pushing problems that are on one side of the property and not saying that they're going to be on the other side.
But we can't say it won't. One of my fears, and I think it was because I don't see an easy solution, is that we are creating a future problem. So regardless of what the current owner of the next property over, these two homes are very close together. The driveway would not be approved width if it was brand new construction this year. And what we have learned behind this table is that any of these encumbrances on people's private properties cause problems later, regardless who they sell, or the person next to themselves, or the other person sells. So we're going from one encumbrance to one side of the property to another encumbrance on the other side of the property by making exceptions to rules in order to allow that other side to come forward. In listening to what sounds like an impossible situation to resolve, all I can do now is look ahead and say, if we think we solved it for 2025, what's happening 4 years from now, 5 years from now, what's happening when the properties try and change hands, any of those three properties. And there's no answer to that. Those are rhetorical questions, because none of us can know who would buy it and how they would behave.
So a couple thoughts. One, I want to go back to reading the deeds. I don't know why arbitration wouldn't be the next step, since it's a dispute that seems to have some contractual language to resolve disputes. Again, I worry about pedestrian traffic there. I mean, I'd love to solve this. I'm with you, Lee. It would be a shame to lose any businesses there because of this. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And then, this might be a stretch, but it entered my mind. So, say we approve it, it's against the guidelines from the state AOT, and somebody does get run over there. Is that a liability to the town? And maybe that's a stretch. Maybe I shouldn't be thinking that way, but that's kind of the world we live in now.
Now, as for the school traffic, I have taken several citizens' comments just about Depot Street, the fact that the sidewalk's paved over, and when the elementary school gets out, people park over the top of the sidewalk, and the kids are walking in the street, you know, and the school is actually looking at expanding, so this is not a problem for us that it's gonna go away.
But we can't expect people to park in the street I mean, is there another solution? Not that we need to come up with it tonight, but, you know, how does that problem get solved?
Well, that's the whole sidewalk issue. That's money in sidewalks, and we haven't spent money on sidewalks. But the point is that we're gonna have to do, there is not enough parking space for people dropping their kids off. Since the pandemic, it just, people don't ride the bus as much, people drop their kids off, people pick their kids up.
But there used to be a line that went all the way around the school, the back of the school, and that's where people would drop off and pick up their kids. What happened to that?
Yeah, the school changed that whole
Why
process.
are
The
there-
buses now go behind.
Yeah.
And the parents come in the front.
Why are there 400 cars out front when school gets let out? That, to me, doesn't make any sense, and maybe that's a discussion we need to have with the school.
Superintendent.
Because that would alleviate a lot of the congestion on the street. You know, it doesn't solve this problem, but, you know, it's another problem.
It's the area that
Discuss.
has the problem. It's the whole area. It's amazing how many cars are out there. Nobody takes the bus in.
Right.
And I don't get that either.
Coming back to the issue that's been brought to us on the table, which is
Mhm.
2 adjacent properties in Main Street.
We would need a motion to either approve or disapprove, and if it doesn't pass, whatever it is, then we'd go back to the disapprove. And it would be two motions. The first would be, okay, we approve it, and if it passes, it's great. If it doesn't, then we'd say, well, we disapprove it, and then we have to vote again.
No, you just make a motion, yeah.
Just
you
make
But
a
the thing
motion,
is,
if
yeah.
it fails, it fails. If it
Right.
passes, it passes.
Right. Just
Yeah,
one
but
motion.
that's two different motions.
No, one motion.
No.
Somebody makes a
Passes it.
motion to approve the curb cut. If it fails, it fails. It's not approved.
Okay.
Yep, that's all you have to do. I wasn't gonna say anything, but I will say, I think this whole thing is really sad. I worked at the Henry Office Building 25 years ago, for 5 years, with Bob Olbrook, and Wayne Goulds were next door, and we never had an issue. There was never an issue. Everybody got along.
Never an issue until we got sued.
Yeah,
Guys,
I just think,
guys.
all I'm saying,
Any of you ever went
Amy,
through it?
please.
I'm talking, all I'm saying is, I just think it's really sad. That has been a shared access for more than 50 years.
And a lot of
That's it.
and a lot of it came up when they went to sell it because
Yeah.
there was nothing legally to
Correct.
bind them to it, and they
Correct.
put
Bob
in an
never took care
easement.
of it. Yep. Yep. Just sad to me. Small town.
And I guess that didn't fix the problem, that's for sure.
No.
Or maybe it would have, but it didn't. I don't know what to do. No. Make a decision. Somebody has to make a motion.
Do we have to make a decision tonight?
I would say, yeah. It's
I
not-
think we have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not
you
an
know,
easy
no sense
decision,
kicking it
but,
down the road.
yeah, and it's not gonna change anything. I really hope that whatever, if the decision is to allow a curb cut, and you were very vague about it, which has kind of bothered me. All the lawyers have to do this and have to do that, and we're not sure. And that just scared me that easement's gonna be used in a different way, other than just letting it go and say, no, okay, I'll sign whatever it takes. I don't need the easement. I don't care what it is.
Well, but you said it yourself, Arnie. You can't put any conditions on this.
I know,
We're
and I know we
addressing
can't.
the
But I'm
request
gonna
of the-
still state that in an open
Yeah.
meeting, that's my impression that you've given us, that easement is just gonna be signed away without any fight, without any money exchange, without anything. Maybe you agree to that, maybe you don't, it doesn't matter, but that's the impression that I would work under, would be how I would approve something like this.
So the question that we have is if we deny the appeal,
Access, yeah.
and there's no driveway installed, what happens? You know, are we
Status quo.
the
It's-
status quo, right?
Yeah.
And so we still have feuding neighbors, and we still have, you know, things going on, and then what does that solve? Eventually, somebody gives up. I don't know if there's actually arbitration that would happen, or would be adhered to, or if somebody would be willing to give up the part of the property that the easement's on and sell it to the heading office, the Longos. That would solve it also, maybe.
Either
But
way, yeah.
the shortcomings to all of these speculations is, we don't know. And if things continue as I've heard them, whether it's reality or not, then we have 5 businesses that may leave town. I mean,
But it's
Mrs. Longo's already said, I'm not opening up an office here because I can't deal with it. I can't operate the business that I want because of the situation. And that would be really, from my perspective, business is important. And maybe we have to think really hard about what we're doing in order to promote business in Chester.
The challenge we have is that we're not invited to moderate. We're not invited to come, we are not asked to come up with a solution. And all of us, I would believe, all of us would like to sit around and come up with a solution. But that's not, unfortunately, the position we're in. We're being asked to approve or not approve one option. We're not here to negotiate the parts of that option, and we don't actually have the platform to look at our fellow citizens and say, what if you did this, what if you did that, could we agree to this, could we agree to that? Because that's the impulse from this side of the table. But that's not the activity, and that's not what we are empowered or positioned to do.
If this was denied, is there an avenue to like Supreme Court or something further on a state level, or does it just die here?
For the highway permit, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, anything can be appealed. I would imagine it would be appealed to probably a superior court. I'm not 100% positive on that.
I'm just curious if this is the end of the line because of what it is, being just a curb cut or the.
No, I think anything can be appealed to a higher
No,
court.
but I think it's more, I think we do everyone a disservice by saying it's just a curb cut. There are 2 homes that are about 18 feet apart. I'm averaging, I'm not speaking actual numbers, 2 homes that are very close together. The discussion is putting a driveway very close between 2 buildings. And so for me, the resistance is not as much the actual location of the curb cut or the sidewalks. For me personally, it's where are we 5-10 years down the road when we've got 2 homes with a driveway right out the window. And that's the piece, and that's not about the current owners.
No.
That's about us speculating on what would happen going forward. And we are put in this position often. Make a decision now because it's the right decision for the current owners. And the problem is then we also see issues come to us that say, well, the former owners agreed to this.
Well, we haven't exactly.
I know,
I mean,
that's
what
why I'm
we're
saying.
talking about here.
Exactly.
The former owners.
And once you grant it, you have new owners.
don't
All of a
agree.
sudden, there's 20 cars going through every single day. All of a sudden, he has a little lawn business, and he's in and out all. I mean, it's commendable that you're saying, oh, it's only going to be 4 or 5 cars, and it's only us, it's only during the day, it's not weekends.
That's now.
That decision goes with whatever happens. It doesn't matter that it's only limited at this point. We grant access. The access is there to use as you please, because we cannot put this restrictions on it, nor can we do anything else as far as that first idea that I had about you giving up the easement.
Right,
That's
there's
gone.
nothing.
We can't, and then it's out of our, we can't do anything about that. I'll give you one more shot up here.
Thank you. I'll be super quick. One thing that was discussed pretty thoroughly, though, with Lauren and the board was the recommendation that we enter into like a neighborly agreement and stuff. And we have done that. And I put a 6-year term on it, so it would go pretty far down the road. So all of the on our part of, like, it was done in good spirit and stuff, but part of it too was that we would solve that problem for the select board by us 2 neighbors, who, you know, she's a former attorney as well, so she knows what she's doing. But we both entered into that agreement, and neither of us had to, but we were able to come to that common ground and make that agreement. The only area where we seem to agree with the Nortons is they stated they want us to have the driveway as well, so, put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. One shot, one more time, Mr. Norton, and then that'll be it for comments.
Again, I have no problem with you guys putting a driveway, but you're gonna try to change my easement right now. If he would give up the easement 100% free and clear, I have no issue, but I don't think this board should make a decision like that.
No, I know.
Because you're allowing him to change the use of my easement. Okay, that's all I ask.
We don't have, we don't
We
have.
don't have any
That's what I'm saying,
jurisdiction.
because
Yeah.
I think it would have to be attorneys and.
Yeah,
we can't do
No,
that.
we
It's
totally know
Gonna
that.
create another big mess, okay?
Yep.
And I don't want that, believe me. I know this gentleman doesn't quite get it, but that's fine.
What don't I get?
No, no, well,
Yeah, I
you
witnessed
act like,
that.
no, I don't wanna get into that, but I would like to talk to you after or down the road. Come see me, just so I could explain to you what being sued for the use of the yard, like Julie's been many years. That's why we went to court, because they sued me and I defended my property and I won it in the end, but, okay, that's all I gotta say. But I'd be glad, friendly, neighborly, not an issue. I'd just like to sit down with you and just show you how this all went down. I have no problem, but I'd just like to see the easement guaranteed to be given up, okay? Thank you, Mark.
Okay,
All-
thank you.
Thank you.
And that is something we have no jurisdiction over, that's nothing we can do.
All right,
I
I
could hope
will
for-
make a motion to support Kirby and the decision that he made.
Peter's
Wanna
the motion.
Second that?
Who's the second? Or is there a second?
There is no second.
I'll second it.
Tim's the second. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor of supporting Kirby, which is a denial of the permit, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
I'll go back to an aye.
So we have 3. And 1 no.
Sounds like it passed.
Didn't pass. Oh, denied.
The motion passed and denied the
Motion
access permit.
passes. And the permit's denied.
Till the lawyers come.
That's not an easy decision for us, any of us. Because we all feel the same. We're trying to do what's best, but in this case, something, to me, there is no best way to go.
There's no winner in this situation at all.
So the permit has been upheld, the denial has been upheld. Sorry, Mr. Longo.
5-minute recess.
Sure. To decompress.
Yeah. And I no longer have access to my documents.
Keep waiting for someone to show up. It's almost time.
Nope.
It's the witching hour.
Nope, not gonna happen.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. No.
It's the first one I've ever seen.
Once in a while.
It's the first one I've
Some-
ever seen like
Oh,
this.
like this. Sometimes it's goats or dogs and, junkyards and,
Yeah, but most of Kirby makes, we don't hear anybody usually appealing Kirby. Kirby makes good decisions in the field and he seems to take care of things. Kirby's biggest problems is that some people think that lawns are more important than roads and then he just gets in trouble over grass.
Well, sometimes they are.
Except, exactly.
Said the lawn care guy.
Right.
That was hard.
everything that, the mics are on.
Yep.
Oh, well. Oh.
I couldn't keep a straight face. Somebody complains about your foul language and swearing at people. not the guy sitting near to me. He's a friend of mine. Oh.
Careful, Julie.
I know. I kept my mouth shut. I know.
It's the bird flu creates foul language.
Oh, he's been on the whole time. Jim's gotten to listen to that whole thing.
Oh, wow.
I bet he's so excited and just really wanted to chime in so badly.
When I saw the name Jim come up, I thought,
I'm sorry. It kind of reminds me of, did you ever watch Home Improvement?
Yep. Howdy, neighbor. Howdy, neighbor. Heidi ho.
Heidi ho, good neighbor.
It's off to work I go without my Heidi Ho. I have all the DVDs.
I bet you. We're just gonna wait for Peter.
Yeah.
because I never see television.
That was a
These
good
are all
show.
television from when we were.
This is the whole.
That was a good show.
From the
I love
90s.
I
that
know what
show.
the show was, I just never.
Which one?
Home Improvement.
Oh, yeah.
Now.
Yeah, too. I like, I also have all the Last Man Standing DVDs
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
Just gotta wait.
He's in a new show now.
Yeah,
I haven't
it's
seen it.
called, what's it called? Anyway, I haven't seen it. So it looks like I can close a whole bunch of these.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's quite a
I
bit,
hope
huh?
you won't be bothered if I glance over
No, no, no,
the
that's
screen
fine.
because my battery died,
Okay.
so I don't have the agenda anymore.
Manager review.
That's right.
We've never alternates our life.
That'd be easy, you don't have to write anything.
Dragged into
That's
the,
it.
into the lions.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All set?
Away we go.
Somebody, we were rolling right along in the beginning there, and everything just kind of, next item on our agenda is certificate of highway miles, was just a little housekeeping every year. It's basically the same as last year with the same addendum on it. I believe that's the same wording and everything.
It's the same wording, yes. Exact same wording as what Jim recommended we
Yeah.
attach. Yep.
So I would entertain a motion to approve our certificate of highway mileage.
Move to approve the highway mileage for Chester 2020, whatever, for.
With attached addendum.
With the attached addendum.
With the attached addendum.
I'll second.
Ariana's the motion and Tim's the second. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor of it, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Ethics Commission, another thing that could take forever.
It was. Almost.
We're just signing all around on the bottom here?
Yeah, they don't, I don't know. Their
It
lines
goes
are-
kind of both ways.
Their lines are a bit of a mess.
Doesn't take a while just for the fact that there's two. Next item on our agenda is appoint an ethics liaison to the State Ethics Commission per Act 171. And I guess we did get a few answers that we wanted from the state.
We got a couple, yep.
And we're going to use you as a placeholder for
You're
the
gonna
time
use me
being?
as a placeholder. I've had a brief conversation with Jim. We'll spend a little more time, investigating who really is the appropriate. I mean, one of the things that I have learned from VLCT, and you can kind of see it in some of their responses back to me, there's a lot that's like, oh, well, we don't really have regulations set up around this. We don't have policy. So it's a bit of a, everything up in the air, and the league has indicated that as well. So I would say you can appoint me interimly. We'll get legal counsel from Jim on what the appointment really should be. I'm hoping that there will be some more clarity coming out of the Ethics Commission or out of the legislature about what this role really is, and defining better. It really is because of the relationship between a town manager and employees, and then how this fits into that. So that's kind of the thought. You could appoint me for now. I'll work with Jim on what is a more appropriate appointment, and who that person should be down the road.
And what happens is, besides being the ethics liaison, I mean, somebody has to receive all the, if there is a complaint, that person has to receive the complaints, but then it has to be investigated and decided upon, you know, what the story is with it. So is that the same person, or is that going to be a group of people?
These are all those
They can't
things,
answer any
and
of that.
that's where
Yeah.
it starts to get confusing and complex.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with your counterpart from Andover
Oh, great,
on
yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
And I asked her
Andover
what.
has a town manager? Oh, the town clerk.
Town clerk,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
And
okay.
I asked her what they're
doing?
and she said, we're ignoring it.
There's a lot of towns that are, but I think Jim would advise against that. The league has certainly advised against ignoring statute and turning the other way. That will come back to bite us. But if we can just get a placeholder in, give Jim
Yeah.
time to kind of unravel this a bit.
And the point that she was making was that as in her position, she wasn't really the one
Yeah.
to take on that role because of the conflicts that we
Yeah.
just mentioned. So I see the, I mean, I don't have a problem with appointing you on
Yeah.
a temporary basis or
Yeah.
whatever, but I see this coming to another discussion sometime fairly soon.
Oh, yes.
Which, you know, to stay in line with what the state is requiring.
They don't know
Not
what
necessarily
they're
my
requiring.
favorite thing to do, but
Yeah, I know.
anyway,
I know,
enough said.
I know. We'll figure it out.
So,
Move to appoint Julie Ethics Liaison on behalf of the municipality.
Ariana's the
Second.
motion, Peter's the second.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of appointing Julie as our ethics liaison to the State Ethics Commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Julie?
Very excited with my new appointment.
I'm sure you are.
Very excited.
You don't even get a key with
It's
that.
my favorite.
No, you get a different hat.
Maybe a business card.
It's my
Julie, if you
favorite
start now,
commission that we
you just
have.
get a tattoo for every job title.
There you go.
And just go all the way down your shoulder.
We're getting punchy.
Yeah, we're getting punchy.
We are, it's after 8.
Well after.
It's time to let off some steam. So we have bond documents. So we have 3 different bond documents, and we need motions, 3
You
motions
need a
for each
motion.
one.
You don't sign any of them.
I know, but we need
but
a
you need-
motion,
you
we
need
need
to approve
3
them.
motions for each one.
I think for each vote, you could approve the declaration of official intent, the resolution, and the official ballot in one motion.
Per issue.
Per issuer, per issue.
Okay, because we used to do 3 separate votes for one bond, and now you're saying we could do one vote for all 3
I think
parts
that
of
you
it?
can.
Okay, that's fine. So I would entertain a motion that we approve our official ballot for the town of Chester. That is a bond not to exceed $2,982,900, subject to reduction of available state and federal grants, to be issued for the purpose of financing the cost of construction for the replacement of the Depot Street force main, gravity main, and First Avenue pump station.
So moved.
Leaves the motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Tim's the second. Any further discussion on this?
I have a question. Is what
Sure.
you read what is appearing on the warrant?
It's
the
the ballot.
Which is the
On the
warning.
ballot. And
Which
did-
is the warning.
Sorry, so forgive me my language.
Didn't hear anything.
There we go. I was just looking for that last sentence,
Yeah, I didn't.
and it's there, so thank you.
It was close.
Yeah. Yep.
You were right, I missed it.
That's all right. I just want to make sure it was there.
Well, once I figure I got the numbers in there and the thing,
Yeah.
I guess you could put the other stuff in too, but. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, where did I put the other, oh, there it is. All right, I would entertain a motion for a bond. Shall the general obligation bonds or notes of the town of Chester in the amount not to exceed $524,000, subject to reduction from the receipt of available state and federal grants and aids, be issued for the purpose of purchasing a grader for the highway department in the amount of $374,000 to be financed for a term of 10 years, and paving sections of Flamstead Road in the amount of $150,000 to be financed for a term of 7 years. This equipment is replacing existing equipment at the end of its useful life and are not additions to the town inventory. Somebody make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Leaves the motion, a second?
Second?
Ariana's a second. Any further discussion on that one? All those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And the last one, shall the general obligation bonds or notes of the town of Chester in the amount not to exceed $1,140,000, subject to reduction from receipt of available state and federal grant and aids, be issued for the purpose of financing the purchase of a solar photovoltaic generation facility currently located on town property, the Jeffrey Wells site. It is anticipated that the debt service on the bonds will be paid using revenue generated by and electricity cost savings resulting from the facility.
So moved. Second.
So your motion is to approve the resolution, the declaration of intent, and the official ballot for that article?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the intention.
Thank you.
Second, again.
Any discussion on that one? I had one quick question on this. This does not bind us into using it. It puts it on the ballot and the people approve it. Now, if the people approve it, does that mean we have to go forward with it no matter what happens? No.
No.
Because if we come up and decide that for some reason something comes up that it's not a good idea, just say something happens, do we have to go out and still expend that money with that bond?
I don't believe so, and I think that Jim will correct me if I'm saying something wrong, but no, I don't think that you have to. I think this is giving you authority to.
Okay.
Until it's applied and approved, and at that point, from what you've told us before, once that bond is approved, we have to spend, we have to take the money.
Correct.
Once it's
Correct.
dispersed.
This is
Yeah, yeah.
authorizing
Well, this is just
you to go
authorizing
out
to
to
do it.
bonds to
Yeah.
borrow.
Yes.
Correct.
Because, yeah, okay. All those in favor of approving that last motion, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay. New business, future agenda items.
I would like to see, before we go to, I would like to see the board see a presentation about the solar, and I would like to see, you've been working on the spreadsheet, Tim, I'd like to be able to see all that before we go to town meeting, which means that.
It's scheduled for the
That's
next.
scheduled for the next meeting.
Next meeting.
Scheduled for
The next meeting is gonna be all solar and all
The
the
Forest
First
Main.
Avenue.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're using that for us and also as
Okay.
our advertising to the community too.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I would just like to see the spreadsheet first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we could do
Which
that.
is why the question that I asked,
Yep.
to
Oh,
make
for
sure.
Correct. Great.
We did get that letter regarding STRs. I don't know if there's anything you want to do with it, or just keep that in the back of our minds for now, or do you want to revisit it again, or consider it, or address the planning commission to do anything with it?
When I saw it, I reached out to the planning commission to ask sort of, how soon did we go over our, when did we hit our cap? What's that look like? We're not supposed to discuss issues right now, are we? We're just supposed to say we want to discuss this later.
We would like to
Do
see.
you want it on your next agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a future agenda?
Yeah,
A
a
future
future
agenda, it would be good to see the statistics and the numbers.
So get an update on STRs at a future agenda?
But I don't know what's appropriate for me to say. personally, I'm not prompted by this letter to make any change, but I do think it's something we should be paying attention to, so.
Sure.
That's,
Or get an update from the planning
Get an
commission
update.
or whatever, yeah.
But I don't think
Just
that's,
the data.
the next 2 meetings are pretty,
Yeah, it
would
doesn't need to
be
be a
in
priority, it's just on a
Good.
future agenda.
Yep.
Okay, I can do that.
We had a meeting with the Chester Conservation Committee, and our district forester,
county
Hannah
forester.
Dallas, was there presenting about our long-range forestry plan that was formed by Sam Sinecki in 2013, and it's a 15-year plan. And she's picking up the area that Sam used to cover, which was Chester and a whole bunch of other towns around here too. And she talked to the Chester Conservation Committee about it, but I think it would be a good place to get the select board involved to see what's going on with that plan and to touch base with it and see what direction we would like to also go, because the Chester Conservation Committee is a committee, it's not a commission, so they're kind of following the recommendations or the guidance of the select board. So before they can do anything or pursue anything, the select board has to be on board with it. So I was hoping that maybe we can get a hold of her, or I'll get a hold of her to present to us as a select board some of the things that she presented to the CCC, and then have a discussion about where we go with that long-range management plan on the town forest, because there were some things that are recommended in the coming years. There's a few things that we've missed, but there's some other big things that are coming up, recommendations now of as far as that forestry management goes, that have to have our blessing, our input from it, so that however we treat this, whether we delegate it all to them or a combination, we have to have a discussion on it, is basically what it comes down to.
I think it'd be great to have a discussion of the about to be complete forestry plan. So if we're on year 13 of 15, then it's worth looking at. But it's also good timing with the beginning to look at the town plan and the canopy plan, which we've been working on in other capacities outside. So perhaps there's a place or a time in the future for Hannah to present the forestry plan, but maybe we're looking at canopy and forestry and town plan. And so if there's a way to dedicate a chunk like we are to solar or something,
Those
in the
are
future,
all,
that'd be great.
those are all good issues, those three different things. This one is a little more specific because the plan is already in place, and there are just options and directions that are kind of spelled out in there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
leave it just there.
Yeah,
Just the
it's
forestry
what,
plan.
it's more details, there's direction for harvest, and
Yep.
then the details work from
So
there.
there's
And
specific.
as soon as we get an electronic copy of it, we'll have it distributed to the rest of the board and
Great.
stuff. I dug up an old,
I was gonna say, I think we've got a copy of it.
I've got a copy of
Okay.
it from an old folder, and I'm surprised
You
that
have
it was from
electronic copy, you
2013.
just gotta-
I can make an
You,
electronic copy.
yes.
Yeah.
Scan it.
That lovely day when I became the tree warden and I thought it was just a nice title and then found out there was actual stuff, I think you might have given me that forestry plan. So,
Okay.
yeah, I need to look
It's
at
an
that.
interesting document.
Yeah.
There's a lot in it, and it's,
And some things have changed since 2013,
Yeah.
and recommendations on how to manage the forest.
Yeah.
So different
Great.
philosophies
Okay,
now.
great idea.
Okay, future agenda.
anything else for future agenda items? All right. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to obtain legal counsel regarding an employee matter, and then to invite our town council, Jim, and Julie also to be with us.
Move to switch to executive session to consider an employee issue and town manager review, scheduling, and including council and town manager.
The town manager reviews the other.
That's separate, that's not part of this.
We're going to have to go out. This one's just
You
an
have to go out.
employee. matter.
Executive session regarding a employee matter, including council
And
And
Julie.
and Julie.
Julie,
I'm obviously not having enough coffee.
Jim's got something to say.
Jim's gonna correct us again.
If I could just add to that motion that premature public knowledge
Yeah.
would be detrimental to the community.
Usually employees.
Just to add to that.
You add that to your motion?
Yes, and we're going into executive session because of all the things Jim just said. So risk of, due to
Premature knowledge.
premature knowledge, that's the phrase. We don't want to allow for premature knowledge of an issue.
You see, this is one of those, it's supposed to be a two-part motion.
I don't
The first
think
one is to
employees don't
justify
require
it.
a two-part motion.
You sure?
Is this?
Yes.
The personnel matter.
Well, there's no such thing as a personal, there's different motions, but anyway. Don't stay up too late.
There's no such thing as.
I need
Thanks,
to ask-
Dad.
Can I ask Sean a question? We gotta finish this. Can you wait in the hallway for me for 1 second?
Sure.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, so we gotta shut things
Okay,
down.
yep, hang tight, Jim.